It's a group of 7 principles that we use to this day. And that is the camping, hiking, and pretty much anything outdoors. It's a group of principles that govern how we are to act in the outdoor environment. There's another group of principles called Tread Lightly that's the same kind of principles but with more ATV, UTV focused that you can look at, and I would suggest you looking at it because it's a great group of principles that govern that, and there's all kinds of trainings that you can do. But Leave No Trace is great, and there's 7 principles like I said earlier, and we're going to go over each one, and in no particular order. The first one is plan and prepare. Before you do any type of outing, you've got to plan and prepare. You got to know what you're doing, you got to know where you're going, you got to know what you plan on doing. Are you planning on hiking, camping, backpacking, biking? It matters a whole lot because then you have to plan and prepare for that outing. I mean, you're not going to take bike helmet and bike if you're going hiking, and if you go camping, you're going to want a tent and sleeping bag and a whole lot of other essentials. And so it's going to matter what you take with you. And so planning and preparing ahead is a way of, okay, well, I'm going into this situation with this environment and with this weather, and this is what I've got to do. So that's what plan and prepare ahead truly means. And it's also a safety net, if you will. If you tell someone where you're going, if something were to happen to you, like, I don't know, a freak accident of whatever happens, maybe you break a leg on the trail, or maybe you get lost on the trail. If no one knows where you're going, it's going to be a long, rough couple of days, and if you don't have friends that'll miss you, then it's going to be not end in a very good situation. So planning and prepare ahead is a great principle to have. Another one is respect wildlife. There's a lot of wildlife out there, and wildlife doesn't necessarily just have to be animals. Like on here, I'm showing a bee. Wildlife is all of the critters. It's not just the hairy beasts or the reptiles or amphibians, but it's everything that has a mouth and can bite you. But we are to respect them. We are to keep away from them. We are to know that they're there and respect them and who they are. Even that means these guys. If you can see, these are the Florida venomous snakes, and these are the guys that you'll find out on the trail. We have, and all of these will not hurt you unless you bug them. 80 to 90% of the bites come from the fact of the matter that someone was messing with them or trying to get rid of them. There's an unlucky few that weren't messing with them and weren't doing anything, and they got bitten. And I know from personal experience, I got bit by a copperhead, which is this upper guy, and he was on my porch, and I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't harassing him. He was in the wrong place, and I was in the wrong place at the right time, and he decided that I wasn't supposed to be there. So, and it's also about respecting wildlife and not taking selfies. Give them their room. They have a limited amount of resources that they have to use, and if they're having to expend them because you keep following them or keep harassing them, then they're going to have a very hard time living in that environment, and it may cost them their life. But also it means to not overhunt and to follow the moral code, if you will. We're not supposed to just treat wildlife like it's an expendable resource. In other words, we can get rid of it and nothing will happen. Just remember, everything you do to one part of this environment happens to all of it eventually. It's all interconnected, and we're attached to it as well. We use the water and we use the resources that they do. Our water has to come from somewhere, and the creeks that you're hearing in the background this water will eventually get pumped into our houses, or into our wells and into our aquifer, which will get pumped out and we'll use for showers and bathing and everything else. So it's all interconnected. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind when you're in the environment. Respecting others. This is a very important one when you're around other people, and you may not even know that they're there. Respecting people means giving them the distance that they need to. It means that if someone is in the trail and doing their own thing, is to quietly go around them, and they should hopefully be off the trail, but it's a way of not playing your music when you're out in the woods. It's if you're in a campground situation, it's using your generator not as often, because if you've ever gone tent camping and you've had a generator running very close to you, it is very hard to go to sleep. It's very loud and obnoxious and kind of annoying to have a generator going all night long. Respect others, and it's also not being loud and obnoxious and not having what you're doing influence what others are doing. Another principle is to hike and camp on durable surfaces. You can't see it, but I'm on a road. You can see the fence post behind me, but I'm on a road or on a bridge that goes over a creek. This would be considered a durable surface. It's made of rock, which I can't find any at the moment, but it's made of rock that is all around us and it's durable. However, there is lichen and green things all over it that aren't as durable, like these flowers. These are little, looks like chickweed flowers. Also, this is another principle we get to in a little bit, but weeds are part of the environment, and you need to make sure that you're not going to pick all of them. A non-durable environment is walking through a marsh. This is a marsh, as you can see. This is a place where it doesn't come back very easily. Your footprint's going to last a long time, and it's also not a very easy environment to walk through either. So yes, it's a non-durable environment, but it's also one which is very hard to walk on. Like here's a beach. Here's another durable surface, or relatively durable. Beach, if it doesn't have like these plants all over them, beaches are a good place to go on and to walk on. Snow is another good one, and you may look closely at this picture and you notice that it has a story to tell. But this would be kind of considered a durable environment, but not so much. If it's really thick snow, it makes for a very hard walk, because if you've ever walked in very deep snow, like 3 to 4 feet, or even 2 feet, you know that it's very hard walking. There's a thing out west called Cryptobiotic Soil that is a living soil that is out west, and it takes many years, if not a lifetime, to come back. It's a soil that is all over the west and makes up a lot of the ground out there. So just think about when you're out hiking, is this durable or non-durable? If you're camping or biking or doing anything, is this a durable or non-durable surface? And make the appropriate choice. Another one is to take pictures and leave only footprints. Like I said earlier with a little flower, you don't pick plants, because if everyone took a plant and picked it all of it, we wouldn't have anything left. There would be nothing for us to look at and nothing for us to appreciate. And also, we may have picked a very rare orchid, like the bog orchid, and there may also affect wildlife like pollinators and other things, because pollinators rely on these plants in order to live. As they get the nectar that are in flowers and they take them up, and they're able to use that in order to keep to cause energy for themselves and to keep going. There's things this time of year called monarchs that are on their way back from South America, and they have to travel a long, long way. It actually takes 3 generations of monarchs because their lifespan is so short between them leaving here, going down there, and then coming back. It's 3 different generations of monarchs, which is amazing because they have to pass on that knowledge of where to go during the winter and then when to come back. So that's pretty cool. And also there are laws protecting the different artifacts, such as arrowheads, also known as projectile points. There's arrowheads and biface points and all kinds of pottery shards and other things that are in our environment that our ancestors have left behind, or ancient Indian cultures have left, and we need to leave those in place. And they tell a story, and without those pieces being left behind, we don't know that story. Like, there's a lot of sites that we know of because people have unearthed them, and they've used them to figure out, okay, what did these people eat? What did they do? How did they handle this land? And so we use those pieces that we find in the environment in order to understand them better and how they lived. Another LNC principle is about fire pits. You don't need a very big bonfire, 10-foot wide, roaring flame in order to make dinner. It may, some people may think that they're really cool and that we can dance around them and chant and go, oh yeah, 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 and do all kinds of chants and stuff. But you don't need that. You're wasting a lot of fuel and a lot of energy for not much reward. Fires can be very small. They don't have to be any more bigger than about like that. And you can cook your whole entire meal on that little surface, depending on what you're cooking. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but fires, you need to respect them. You need to make sure that they're completely out when you leave, because they can cause a big blaze. It doesn't take much for a fire to ignite, especially if it's really dry out. Out west, they have restrictions, and you need to make sure that you're doing the appropriate thing. There's different stages, if you will, of fire protection out there, and depending on the stage, they can limit what you do, like using fire rings or not even having a fire. Sometimes, the reason why they do that is because if one of those embers even remotely get off into the woods, it can cause a blaze, and that blaze can take off. Fires, depending on the environment, in the grassland environment, fires can go 60 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour if pushed by wind. And out west, you don't have forests and grassland, or forests and other things to hold back that wind, so it's being pushed, and it can go as fast as the wind pushes it, and it can get you into some really bad situations very quickly. So make sure your fire's out, make sure that you're not catching anything on fire, and when you're having a fire, make sure that those embers that are coming off of the plant don't end up in a tree or somewhere else and catching the place on fire. That would be a very bad scenario. Another part of this is to basically take everything that you pack in. So don't leave any trash behind. If you pack it in, you have to pack it right back out. And so you have to remember that when you're trying to get your meal for a backpacking trip, if you're going on one, that you can consolidate and you can make things pre-done. What I mean by that is you can prepare things beforehand, so all you have to do is take it out of the bag or whatever, pop it on the grill and cook it, and then you have less packaging. Because it's not very nice if you come across an area and it's completely trashed. How would you like to go to a site and you saw trash all over the place, where you saw everything mowed down, and it was one big gigantic wasteland rather than a place where you want to enjoy. Most people that go into the woods go there because they want to reconnect and get out into the woods, and they don't want to see everyone else's litter and everyone else's waste. So pack it in, pack it out. That also means all of your food scraps. Put all your food scraps in a bag or something and take them back. Hopefully you've planned and prepared, and you have a trash bag with you to take all that mess back out. This also has to do with your taking a number 2 in the woods. You do things called cat holes, which basically you dig a hole with a trowel, and basically it's a little hole about yay big, and or as big as you want, so your things that come out of your rear end don't go all over the ground. And then you cover it up. So you make a hole and then cover it up. The toilet paper, depending on the area, can sometimes be buried and sometimes not be buried. Just watch what you're doing when you're in a wilderness area. Look at the rules and laws that are governing that area, and they will not lead you wrong. So when you're out in the woods, there's a whole lot of cool things in the woods. This is another one that we have in Florida. If you can see it, it's called a sundew. They are in the Munson Hills area of South Tallahassee, and they are definitely there because I have pictures on my phone of when I went and took a picture. But all these principles that we have just talked about are there for us to use. If we all did our own thing and didn't respect each other and did whatever we felt like, then everyone would be mad at each other. We're like, okay, why did so-and-so put trash here? Or why can't someone clean up their messes after they're gone? And we're not mates for each other. However, it would be nice to leave things better than you found it, and respect those around you, respect wildlife, use good trail etiquette. And one thing that I forgot to mention is right-of-way. There is a certain right-of-way governing our trails that is not really mentioned, if you will. I guess it goes along with respecting others. But horses always have right-of-way over everything else. Horses can throw their owner off of them if they're spooked. It's just not a good situation. So get off your bike, go on the lower side of the hill, and allow the horses to pass. When they're a safe distance, you can get back on your bike and keep going. The next is hikers. Hikers have right-of-way over bikers. If you encounter a bike, bikers are supposed to give right-of-way to a hiker. And so outdoors, just make sure that you're respecting those people that are out walking and hiking. Same goes with trail runners. I've encountered trail runners, and you just have to use your smarts. And those that are going up a hill have right-of-way over those that are going down a hill. Because if you think about it, you're exerting a whole lot more force when you're going uphill than downhill. And bikers are the last right-of-way. If you're a biker, just make sure that you're respecting others. Yeah, it's a little inconvenient. I'm also a biker. I do it all. I've biked, I've hiked, I've been on horseback, and you just have to respect these rules and laws because they're there for a reason. They're there to protect you and to have a way of dealing with people. If we didn't have a code, then we wouldn't know what to do, and it would just kind of be a free-for-all and chaos, and everyone would be probably griping and grumbling at each other, and this world would not be a good place. So thank you for enjoying the L&T principles. Hopefully you got something out of it, and see you next time.